What happened to that model student in your school? Last I heard he was at UMUC working on prosthetic limbs. Very bright kid. I ran into him a few years ago when his mom was doing my sister's hair for prom. She had a barber chair in her basement. We played Guitar Hero together for a few minutes and just sorta chatted like we were back in high school. It's one thing to be smart, but it's another to be smart and a hard worker. I'm glad he's doing well. He got a PhD in mathematics and teaches and does research at one of our top universities. I ran into him while grocery shopping one day and he was telling me about what a pain in the butt it is to convince the university to give you grants or whatever, so getting paid to do research is hard. He also seemed kinda lonely. Another guy got his PhD in astrophysics. He teaches statistics classes. My uncle got a PhD in physics. Now he's a carpenter. Dropped out of his full ride in engineering to do fricking Amway. One of the greatest guys I've ever known until that point. Then he just become this annoying pushy guy that everyone avoided. He just wanted to be his own boss. He deferred his final year at university depending on who you believe, either because of depression or because he straight up tried to kill himself. During that year off decided not to go back, and now is teaching English in, I think Nepal, but maybe Bhutan, somewhere in the Far East. Anyway, good for him, I think. He never seemed all that happy in high school, but he was always a nice enough guy and I hope his life is what he wants it to be, rather than what other people expected of him. Currently taking my senior year off due to depression as well, but I was definitely no model student beforehand, was undiagnosed before, makes a lot more sense now. The model student of my high school went to the same college as the rest of us. He'd never really been in a relationship and was the kinda guy who would wear jeans to the beach. The jeans comment, we were in Puerto Rico, if that helps make sense. Every morning before class, he'd show up with a newspaper and read and always be informed about politics or the latest happenings. I love that guy. Preface to when we go to college and he gets into engineering. He meets this girl that's a total party girl, albeit in engineering, too. She's super into hip hop and rap and late parties and drinking. She was his polar opposite. Halfway through our undergrad he just decides he wants to get married. Out of our group of friends, he was the first and we thought he was insane for just marrying into his first real relationship with someone completely unlike him. They've been together for about 18 years now, have 3 kids and both are very successful as engineers. I'm so happy for him. I was waiting for this to take a dark turn. Glad it didn't. Top student went to an elite college all on a full ride scholarship. Last I heard, he'd gotten a master's in some crazy engineering field and had a really nice internship. Now, the second highest student really fricked it all up. He was also given a full ride scholarship to an elite college, was even given a free iPhone and a ton of other goodies if he went. At the time though, he was dating one of my friends. She was extremely manipulative, clingy, dramatic, and was known around the school for being easy. She also cheated on every single one of her boyfriends. But he didn't care. He was in love and she would never do that to him. They were dating for about 2 months before graduation and all through the summer months before he left for college. A week before he left she pulled some dramatic bulls. The I can't stand to be so far away from you kind of crap. They attempted a long distance relationship. He was only an hour away, but she just couldn't handle it. 1 week into the semester, he dropped out, lost the scholarship and began going to a community college down the street from her house. Halfway through the semester, he found out she was cheating on him. She had been going on to dating sites and banging every guy she could find. They broke up and he never finished his 2 years at the community college. I see him a couple times a year. He's been working at the same Walgreens since he dropped out of community college 7 years ago. He can't afford to go back to the elite college and he hasn't dated anyone since her. It's just sad. Also, he gave the absolute cringy speech at graduation. It was clearly all alluding to fricking and he declared his undying love for his girlfriend at the end. It was gross. Poor guy went from head over heels in love with a bright, all expenses paid future, to forever being in retail. Sucks. God, I feel bad for the guy but he legitimately ignored all the red flags. He was brilliant, went to study natural sciences at Cambridge and then he became an accountant. Man could have changed the world with that brain of his. A man could have changed the world with that brain of his. At least the books will be balanced at the end of Q1. She died of cystic fibrosis. As a kid, I wondered why she was coughing all the time and would be absent for weeks. Miss you, Bridget. Oh, that's rough. She's literally the best person I know. She does cancer research. She rescued a dog. She volunteers to feed the homeless and takes up collections of feminine hygiene products for homeless women and distributes them herself. She's beautiful, smart, and she's a good person. One day you'll find out she ran over and killed someone when she was a teenager and just bailed because she didn't want to ruin her life. We went to a super hard engineering school in California. Only one student had a GPA of above 3.5. While I really wanted to hate on the guy, out of jealousy and whatnot, he was super cool and everyone loved him. Right before our last spring break we were all talking about how we were going to spend our time off. Steven, the 3.9 GPA guy, said he was a little freaked out, but he was going to go for his first skydiving experience. It was super sad heading his name called in roll call the next quarter with no response since his skydiving instructor who was strapped to him had a heart attack on the way down and never opened the chute. I never could figure out how they could tell that he had a heart attack, but what do I know? He actually didn't live up to the hype or whatever it was. Up until high school he was one of the best students of his school high school, and then went to a pretty average uni for higher education. From what I'm hearing he's a pretty average student now. That happened. I was a high scoring student up until halfway through 6th grade, then I went on to be pretty average, scoring a bit higher and slowly dropping to average. The one who had the highest GPA in my school ended up taking 2 gap years and showed up in the same bachelor program that I did when I was in my 3rd year. Which I found a little funny, but smart on her for taking the time to decide what she wanted to do. Haven't heard from her since I graduated and changed majors, but I'm sure she's killing it. At first I thought you meant you were both contestants on the same season of The Bachelor. She's into cancer research, and she's married to me. Never imagined that second thing would happen when we were in school. Barely spoke to her then. Model student. I went to a high performing school in my state, so most students are undertaking law or engineering, but one student stands out. She had ginger hair, a charming disposition, a friendly demeanor, athletic, top 10 students, was the only school captain that didn't suck and acted like they were better than others. Very competitive school. Oh, and was a great personality known among the girls and guys. We only graduated 5 years ago. She's halfway through her masters and it's always great to catch up with her. We usually intersect during some sort sporting activity. She could have done law or medical related discipline as other editors have commented regarding the model student. But she's doing sports science and I think physio for postgrad. You know those people who are so genuine yet humble and successful but not fake? Yeah, she's one of them. It isn't only her personality and academic achievements that made her sought in high esteem. She was very attractive and beautiful, so I guess it was a perfect formula. Quite a rare gem. I wish her success in her career and contentment in her personal life. I met a girl at a party who was like this. All successful and sporty and smart and everything. And insanely humble and kind. People like that are a dime a dozen. Apparently I'm not like the girl and I'm failure who doesn't know what a dime is. One became a surgeon and the other is a Harvard professor. The third got sucked into his dad's business and didn't end up doing that well, unfortunately. He ended up at one of the best universities in the country, graduated and freaked out a little and was traveling the world with no plans of working whatsoever. It was me. Low standard school. I flunked out of university due to depression when my stepdad died, became a secretary and didn't amount to anything and anything, until last year, when an old boss of mine got an awesome position in a company and called me to offer an interview for an assistant position for another manager. I'm now, at 36, studying to finish law school because my manager offered me a better deal when I graduate, in a year, give or take. It's hard, let me tell you. Starting the climb at 36, but not impossible, and I've never felt better. As a lawyer, let me tell you that being a secretary is not nothing. Most law firms depend totally on their secretaries. He was my best friend. He would pick me up for school. We played 3 sports together, so he always drove me home after practice, and we had a lot of the same classes too. He was very bright and business minded. 4.1 GPA and full scholarships to some really good schools. About 4 months before graduation during track season, he started smoking weed. He liked it so much he pretty much started skipping school to smoke with older folks, and long story short, he's in prison now for selling C. He had a fast fall from glory. I miss him. My advice is don't forget about him. Young people can get over their mistakes and go on to live productive lives. I have friends who recovered from C addiction. They were in their mid-20s when they saw the error of their ways, went back to college, graduated, doing well now. Dude spoke math like we speak English, and he wasn't a savant. He was sociable and even did marching band, which cost him the valedictorian spot even though everyone knew he was the smartest kid in school. The school let him do self-study his last 2 years of high school because he ran out of math classes to take. He went to Harvard and took a leadership role on their math team his freshman year. Dude committed suicide after being relentlessly hounded for his physical orientation in my crappy little hometown. I guess I'd DK if he was the model student, but I admired a lot about him. Very hardworking, did all the student government and stuff like that. Great grades, never got in trouble. Super genuine and super nice to everyone, no matter who they were. I have no doubt that he was on the path to living a really successful and fulfilling life. Too bad we still live in a day and age where high school kids still key slurs into someone's car over their physical orientation. SMH. This is something that makes me glad my friend had a mental breakdown. Sounds terrible, but that is what got him to a city hospital and out of the small town we are from. They helped him a ton and he finally admitted he is gay, stayed in the city, and has been doing great. Obviously would be better if that town wasn't so homophobic, but at least my friend got better. The valedictorian in my high school went on to make jizz paintings in college that he titled 37 Ejaculations. With Pollock in mind, I'd link to a local news article that details everything, but I don't know if that's allowed. The hero we probably deserve, but not the one we need right now. He always said he should be president. Turns out he spent the last 8 years working for the Obama administration in some capacity. He keeps his cards close to his chest on social media, and I'm not sure exactly what he's doing now, but he seems like he's doing pretty freaking well for himself overall. Our class valedictorian also worked for Obama for 8 years. We could be talking about the same person, except my classmate also invented the rubber Livestrong bracelets concept and simultaneously became a millionaire, right out of HS. Valedictorian. Went to a school close to home. Good school though, became a teacher close to home, and hasn't left our shabby little mountain town. But whatevs if that's what they wanted, good for em. Scotland here. We didn't really have model students of notice, but a boy I was the top physics class with has went on to do work with NASA and the ESA, I believe. I did become a mechanical marine engineer, now in office side management of engineering, but is much cooler. Got her first boyfriend at 19, dropped out of college, got knocked up, now living with him and raising all 3 kids while he smokes, drinks, and bounces between crappy jobs. The Simpsons did it. I guess that would be me. I had the best GPA in high school, got a PhD, became a wildlife biologist, swim with whales, study birds and Galapagos tortoises. Took a couple years off at one point to go play music in Brazil, and I still go back every year for carnival. Mostly now I work on baleen whales and sea turtles. Got field work in Hawaii coming up next month. I'm writing books now and have about 50 published science papers. Never made a ton of money, but that was never my goal. I'm happy and I'm free and life is always interesting. That is dope AF. Whoa, marine biology was one of those things I wanted to do, but alas I dropped bio, so the dream is over for me. Charlie died of cancer shortly after getting advanced degrees in chemical engineering at Duke. Mark vanished off the face of the earth. Has a really common last name, so Google just returns a bazillion hits. Mary, really serious, not exactly pretty. We went to the same university and I'd see her occasionally. Somehow she managed to snag one of my party pals, a guy who hardly ever cracked a book, and they are pretty happily married with 2 sons. He owns his own business. She's superintendent of schools in their town. I would never have guessed they would end up together. TLDR. The ugly chubby kid at school with genius level of intelligence now doing paid manual work and live off someone else's wallet because he is good with his dong. And he never been happier. We were going to a very rural high school. He always said that he didn't knew what to do in life, even if it was obvious that he was leagues above the rest in the intelligence department. He was a walking nerd stereotype, awkward social interaction, quoting Star Trek, reading books all the time, and of course, chubby and not so pleasant to look. His family was poor. He didn't even had a microwave or computer at home. He ended up in the college in the closest town, doing general STEM program to enter a university, but still didn't knew what to do and got pretty depressive about it. Our curriculum is different from the us. We go to college to prepare for university, but our back are shorter. It's the same at the end. Money was thigh tight. He couldn't take to work with no goal, so he decided to literally pick a college program at random and ended in computer sciences. He haven't even booted a computer in his life up to this point. He absolutely hated it, because it was too easy. He busted his butt off to get money to go to university, but still not knowing what to do in his life, so he stick to computer science, but was getting very depressive with his lack of goals. Then he met a sweet girl, veterinarian student, a bombshell, and ended up with her. He is now very happy, being at home raising the kids and doing Reno in the house. There was this kid in my school, captained the baseball team and played on the badminton team, got a 98% average by the end of high school. Every teacher loved him and every student had at least one good experience with him throughout the years. He used to come to school holding a different random be the best you can be book on top of his other textbooks and various extracurricular stuff. He was voted valedictorian for the school, and even though it's Canada and no one cares, we all cheered and agreed it was well earned. There was various mumblings we was off to Queens or Yale or Princeton for engineering and science, but no one knew what we would pick. His home life was weirdly unknown, but no one really thought about it or noticed. 6 months later, a wave of comments circulated on Facebook amongst the people I know from that school. Turns out he killed himself before ever started university and people were just finding out. Turns out he did it because he couldn't handle the horrible pressures of the succeed or else attitude his parents had that none of us had ever seen. They used to force him to do all those things, and assigned him these success books every week because they wanted him to be the best he could be. Kid was dying on the inside because he never got time to be a kid. I never did find out what happened with the parents or attend the funeral as I was off to university by then. But someone everyone considered to be the model student was just caught lying about having stage 4 breast cancer for around 4 years. She even collected almost $30,000 from about 400 of us and did updates all the time on the GoFundMe account and Facebook. The most disturbing part of the entire thing, to me, is that she was posting about her illness for 3 years before someone convinced her to start a GoFundMe account. Serious mental illness. She got knocked up by a much older, married guy. He left his wife and now they have 2 kids and a farm. I believe they just farm to make a living. Nothing she needed to be so uppity about in school. I found her really annoying in high school. I got paired up with her for a group project once. It was like the teacher deliberately paired up the biggest underachiever with the biggest overachiever. Having a hard time figuring out who is under-overachiever. He started smoking pot, which wasn't a big deal until it became his whole identity. Then he started drinking a lot. He went from top of our class to just another graduate. He also used to be my best friend. He stopped talking to me when I would give him rides to a house to get high. Last I heard he was married to a stripper and harassing Chinese tourists for money to buy C. He became a neurosurgeon. Always had one S, German equivalent to A, in school. Both parents teachers, but we were friends during childhood anyway. I had a C64 and then an Amiga to play games. This made me attractive when young. I dated her for a while. It was great having someone that you could have intelligent conversation with all the time and who I just knew was going to be successful in life. We broke up. She's at university now to become a doctor, which is amazing because I know she'll do amazingly, but I do worry about her. The amount of effort she puts into school and her education is awesome. but she doesn't spend enough time caring for herself or focusing on her own mental and physical health problems because of it. There's no balance at all there, which is such a shame because it could really be her downfall. That sounds like a girl I was friends with in high school. She worked very hard and went to triple major at her college and is now studying abroad. I'm so proud of her and hope she excels in life because she deserves it. Graduated college, became severely depressed, unemployed, no aspirations anymore and struggles to perform basic tasks such as sleeping or eating. TLDR, me. Peace, my friend. We're all dying slowly, and our achievements are only temporary. Take heart in finding the little ways you can contribute to improving the world. That's a good place to find meaning. I graduated valedictorian and got a full ride to a great college. Lost my mom to cancer after freshman year, and I let go of my grades. I lost my scholarship and worked my way through the rest of school. Ended up taking 5 years instead of 4, and got a degree in literature. My last semester, I got knocked up. I was super Christian and it was basically my first time freaking. I had to have the baby. There was no other option. Being so religious, my family pressured me into moving in with the baby's dad and I didn't know any better at the time. When she was born I realized a lot of things. I left her dad when she was a year old or so, and it was very difficult. The baby and I stayed with friends for a couple years and I took any and every job I could to pay for daycare, soldering, rickshawing, custom cabinet building, journalism. I learned how to do a lot of things. After those 2 years, which were very hard because I didn't have a place of my own, I was able to rent one. I went back to school, a community college, for a degree in computer programming, because writing didn't pay the bills, and then got a really good job as a programmer. I bought a house 1 year ago. I am no longer religious, if anything Buddhist as far as philosophy, and I am no longer hurt. My daughter is brilliant and beautiful and the light of my eyes. We have a dog and a cat. I have learned how to build houses. One day soon my job will be building houses for single parents. I want to house the world. Watch me. Late fragment, Raymond Carver. And did you get what you wanted from this life? Even so, I did. And what did you want? To call myself beloved. To feel myself beloved on the earth. As an older single mom and student, I'm so grateful to hear of your wishes to help single parents. Over the years struggling, I've had ideas pop into my head of certain thing that would help single parents in tough situations. I'm glad you are acting on yours. I wish you the best. This girl I knew in high school was super stuck up and basically planned on being valedictorian. She ended up salutatorian. SP. Anyway, she was so convinced she was going to an Ivy League school that she only applied to Ivy League schools, got rejected and ended up going to community college. She perfectly aced the SAT. She graduated from Princeton and on a roll with a degree in computer science, worked for Microsoft, and is now a professor at Princeton. Yowza. I just wanted to inform you all that yes, she is hot. Also, I know her in real life. She's my age. 23-year-old. Yeah, she accomplished all of that before 23. Crazy. Erection. She is actually getting her PhD at Pennsylvania. Not a professor. Have some goddamn respect and remove her name. Jesus dude, this is the internet. The girl with the best better grades in my year went on becoming a kindergarten teacher. She was good in learning for tests and writing whatever each teacher wanted to read, but she wasn't bright in any other way. Back in the day we joked about it, but today I guess she followed her heart and chose wisely. Has a family now, is happy and modest. You say this as if being a teacher isn't an honorable career. She's still one of the sweetest people I know and one of my closest friends. She became a nurse, but after having kids decided to be a stay-at-home mom. She lives modestly because of it, but wealth and prestige were never her goals. She just does the best she can at whatever she sets her mind to doing, and this is usually pretty freaking awesome. She got back into painting recently, which I love seeing. She's always learning and always trying to better herself. This model student was head girl of my high school and was in my graduating class last year. She was known by everyone as a smart, dedicated student and acted as such. Passed final exams with extremely high marks and was set to go a prestigious university. Saw her on one of her friends' Snapchat story the other day smoking M in a dingy looking house. Oh, times change. She was my girlfriend in early high school. Last I heard, she married a rich guy 20 years older than her, owned a construction company. Rich. He's fat and gross. Our prom queen is now a successful lifestyle model for a few different brands. Is engaged to a guy who looks like he should be a fitness model. I am okay with this because she is a genuinely nice and awesome person. Hey, may as well give her some attention while I'm here. She's at JessBeam on Instagram. He's a scientist. The kid's parents were Pakistani and he had a full beard as a freshman, so he'd buy us beer. He didn't even really drink but is a great guy. Was our senior class president and he is now some kind of genetic scientist now. Lived up to the hype. If you are on here, Jack, thanks for all the beer. Most of them are doctors or engineers. Only one of them graduated with a higher GPA than me, but all the ones I was in classes with went on to be very successful. Me though, graduated with a 4.0, 6 marks of 4 or better on AP tests, NHSVP, etc. That's not important. Graduated 2009. Definitely a model student. Went to an Ivy League school for 3 years before I decided that college wasn't for me. Moved around a few states doing random odd jobs, meeting a lot of people and gaining perspective. Importantly, I spent a few years doing a ton of things people told me I couldn't do. Turns out I actually could. Learned a lot. I've been everything from a cashier at Walmart in Florida to working as a restaurant GM in Baltimore. Lots of people were confused by my choices and called me wasted potential, burnout, etc. I'm now an electrician. Very happy with my career and life direction. I think it's kind of harmful to some kids to pigeonhole them into one role. I know I felt a lot of pressure to be perfect and a doctor or lawyer, even though I knew I wanted to be a blue-collar worker before I even went to college. I guess the reason I'm posting this is because I know I'm not the only one with a similar story, and I know posts like this can make people feel less than. Always did for me. Point being, you're on the right path, and it's okay. Follow your path and be the best you. A lot of that was probably off topic. Feel free to downvote me, but I felt a need to post this. He topped all his classes and won a bunch of awards at a prestigious British university, and has since become a barrister at a very young age, specializing in construction law. It actually makes me sad. He's got plenty of time left to do something significant. I know, but the fella was the smartest guy I ever met, and an astonishingly good orator. Seeing him defend big companies from lawsuits seems like a real waste of potential. He also cut ties with everyone from school after leaving. Most people think it's cause we know some embarrassing stories about him, nothing abnormal, just standard kid stuff. But my theory for a while has been that he's gay and just didn't want to come out. Don't think that I implied he wasn't successful. Yeah, the guy's entitled to do what he wants. Equally, I'm entitled to wish he'd done something different than what he has. I think you're radically overestimating how bothered I am. Try to chill out. There is actually so much money to be made in construction law. It's not even funny. Good for this guy. Source: me. I'm in construction. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.